stream. On Strength Club, I'm Mick Solomon, the developer of the Starting Strength app, and with me, Alex Koesarie, a Starting Strength coach. G'day, Alex.
That's me. That's me. Good
That's
day.
you.
What's been going on, Mick? Anything cool going on in your life?
Nah, it's very boring.
No?
My life's completely boring. Just a lot of music
Just
school and
white walls.
white
That's it.
walls, yeah. So
White walls and depression.
I had to fill out a form to get my government approved 1 hour of streaming per week. So that's good.
Oh, okay. You have your streaming license. That's
Yeah, it
good.
took 3 months.
That's official.
That's where I've been for the last 3 months. I haven't been allowed to go on the internet.
That has been yeah. Yeah, everyone's been asking about where's Mick? Where's Mick?
Yeah, yeah.
I have to pour a little one out for you
All
on
the
each stream.
people. We have two people watching at the moment, so those are obviously the people who are interested in where I've been.
Yeah.
Hello,
We
viewers.
switched the days up so goddamn much. We gotta.
Well, whose fault
It's
is
hard for
that?
people to find. It's probably mine. This time it's Chase's fault, though.
It is.
Pour one out for Chase, by the way, everybody, if you're watching.
Yeah,
But I've been doing pretty well. Not that you asked, Mick, but
I did
I'm
ask
back
him.
on milk again. I'm back on milk.
Nice.
I was completely away from it. I don't feel like chewing food anymore because it's really tiring, so I'm just drinking calories.
Do people know, all about your health issues? Has it been talked about?
No.
Ah, okay.
No.
Well, Alex
But
is dying. If just
yes,
yeah.
Alex is dying. We'll do the Alex is dying reveal one day. I
Yeah,
should make a video about that at some point.
you
But
should.
but yeah, I'm just drinking literally 60% of my calories.
Nice.
It's pretty sick.
How
I've
does that
gotten back
affect?
into breakfast. I've gotten back into breakfast cereals as well, which also
That's a
very
win.
cool.
That's a win.
That has changed and developed a lot since I've been a child. I
Yeah.
have not realized the technological innovations
What do you
that
What have you been
cereals
eating?
come
Like
along
what cereals?
for. Mostly Lucky Charms, man. I'm
Lucky.
super into Lucky Charms.
That's
Yeah, I can get.
obviously a health food.
That's it. Yeah, it's Lucky Charms, protein powder, skim milk. It's just 0 grams of fat, just
Oh,
sugar and protein. That's it.
nice. I
Yeah,
would.
living the dream over here.
If I could live, if it was healthy to live on that, I would. I love cereal, but I just can't. If I've got it in the house, I'd basically eat it all day, and just, yeah, it's not going to end up
hmm
well for anyone. How's your how's your toilet routine working out with the liquid diet?
Oh, I'm in perfect health and amazing and beautiful, so it's totally fine.
Okay,
I have zero problems
so you don't
whatsoever.
want to tell people online about your toilet habits, is that what you're
No,
saying?
mm-mm,
All right.
no.
All right.
I will say it makes calculating my food budget pretty simple because it's just like a box of cereal a day and then scoops of protein powder and a gallon of skim milk. It's
Yeah.
dead
Does sound pretty
simple.
good, to be honest.
It's dead simple. Give it a try, man. You don't live with anybody. No one will judge you, man. You live
Yeah,
alone.
my toilet
Yeah.
will judge me if I do that.
hmm But all right,
Um,
we got some form checks to get through,
yeah,
Mick.
enough of that.
Yeah, we'll get back to it.
Enough of that. All right, let's get into these form checks. We'll go in. Let's go in date order for when they'll submit it. So we've got D Reynolds.
We're going oldest and newest.
Yep, sweet
Okay.
D Reynolds.
Yeah, we've seen a good bit of D. Reynolds' work. Oh, we get some sound on this one too.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah, that
take
one
it.
was definitely on the toes. The head position was changing a lot, especially at the bottom. I like that rep more. That was more towards the midfoot. That was the best of the bunch. We'll see if it gets better for 4 and 5. A little bit too hippie for my taste on rep 4. I'm just gonna
Yeah, man, this is good.
shout cast every single rep here.
Nice.
Yeah, I would say that's relatively normal for an amount of interset variation that we'll see, or variation within the same set. No one's reps look hyper identical every rep. No one's does. Um, those were about where we're looking for, So what you'll normally see for lifters, especially more novice ones, it'll be forward of midfoot on one, behind midfoot on the next one. The third rep will generally be the best. It takes about 2 reps to kind of dial it in, and then 4 and 5 are just kind of attempts to replicate the third one. That's a pretty typical pattern. One thing that you'll notice is that for people who need a little bit more skill development, we'll like to pull the rep count down so they can really focus on giving like 3 crisp reps or 2 crisp reps. But I think those are totally fine. Recommendations would be to make the head position a little bit more stable, and then just try to make all of your reps a little bit more identical. Like they should feel much more similar than they are. Like if I had to bet, if we asked D. Reynolds after that set, he would have said, "Yeah, those reps felt pretty different." We want them to feel almost as identical as we can. He's squatting 335 in this, so like he knows how to brace, he knows how to stand up with the bar. It's mostly about getting what he's feeling in the squat to be a little bit more consistent.
Yep. Nice one, D. All right. Up next we have Millen Chicks.
Millen Chicks. This is a throwback episode. This is how it used
Yeah,
to
it
be right at the
is.
beginning, right?
Yeah. I've had this guy on a
Okay.
fair few times. Gee, he's got a bit of weight in the bar there.
He does, yeah. This is a little
160,
bit more than we
170.
saw him with last time. Yeah, I think one thing with Millen Chicks, he sent into, I think, a video or two
Mm.
that have had relatively similar weights. Yeah, he's unlocking his knees before his hips. I would like to see that happen a little bit more simultaneously.
Yep. Look a bit high as well, I think.
I think that's a perspective thing. I think that's a foreground and perspective thing.
It's such an old
Sorry to
man
shoot
thing
your
to
shit
say.
down, Mick.
It's such an old man thing to say. It's like, you're not allowing for the parallax. My old man used to say
Yeah.
when he was in the car and
yeah.
speeding. And yeah, look at the speedo. Yeah.
Thank you. That was a well needed.
I'm out of touch, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing that's nice about doing online coaching is most of your work is that you get like this weird spidey sense whenever you know someone pretty well about like when exactly the set starts. You can just skip straight to it with like really good accuracy.
Yep.
Yeah, these are two depth. I don't mind these at all. The knees are a little bit wobbly on the way in, but it's probably very consistently like that your entire career. Focus on shoving them out if you can, but I wouldn't really slow down your progression very dramatically for it. I think that was pretty solid.
All right. There you go, Millen Chicks. Good work, man. Up next, we have S-feld bomb.
S-feld bomb.
S-feld bomb.
This is a very yellow gym.
That is.
This was an interesting camera position choice as well, my man.
Jesus.
These are some squats.
These
Yeah,
are
so this is
definitely
yeah, these are definitely what I think of when I think of like CrossFit squats, of like knees shooting forward, basically pretty high bar, pretty straight up, and then just very fast in between. One thing that kind of seeps into CrossFit's coaching methodology and then also their athletes' performance is that everything has a time function to it, so people will try to rush their reps as fast as they can. So first thing, S-feld bomb, I would recommend taking a full breath in at the top. Remember, as you continue to put more weight on the bar, it's going to be a little bit harder every single time, right? So whenever you're squatting 400 pounds, it will feel significantly more difficult than what you're doing now, or it'll at least feel heavier. So if a habit that you have now, if that would work with another 300 pounds on the bar, keep it. If it wouldn't work, don't keep it. When you have 4 or 5 on the bar, you are not going to want to rock it up and down in between reps that casually. So when you're standing at the top, take a big breath in, clamp down on that breath, and then start the next rep. I would move your gaze down a little bit, trying to look at the floor. Your torso angle is a little more inconsistent than I'd like, but these are to depth and are clearly high bar squats. But I would focus on those two things, like stabilizing the head position, and then just making sure that you're re-bracing at the top of every rep.
Yep. Put the hooks down a notch as well. Those are some jammy hooks, aren't they?
There's some weird hooks.
I mean, if you miss, you're dead, basically,
Yes,
with these hooks.
There's no salvaging those with those ones.
Yeah, he's tippy-toeing them in as well, anyway.
Yeah.
Just,
I've never actually seen that in the wild. I've never seen that organically happen. I've only seen it on internet videos.
Yep. But this is an internet video, so it could...
I don't know why it happens. You'd think that would be like a simple one to fix for people, but
You'd think.
not.
Yep. All right, Josh X. Oh, look at this. It's like professional.
Oh, man.
Love this.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, this is like a longer video too.
Is it? Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
this
I
is a
think he
minute
includes
43.
a few sets into this.
Do you want to get to the work set? Oh, he's...
Okay, so we have 5 at 235.
This is a nice gym. Did you notice the picture of Hollywood in the background?
That is a little bit weird.
That
If this
is.
is near Hollywood, I guess that may make
makes
less
sense,
sense
yeah.
because if it's near Hollywood, I don't know if you would need to tell us.
Is the place just called Training? Is that the name of the gym?
Training, maybe that's the sector. I've noticed that a lot of those weird big box gyms will have like a specific area for personal training. It's like you get access to like the cool kids club whenever you sign up with the trainer. That way the trainers don't have to fight for gear basically.
I'm guessing it is California, given they're all wearing masks.
Yeah, so still under masks. About the squats, I would say you're too narrow, you're squatting high, you are looking up in the mirror. You're doing a good job of leaning over, but I would think that you're like running out of knee extension, running out of hip flexion before you actually get to depth. I like what that guy in the blue tank top's doing back there. He's just waving to people. He's just swinging his arms around as rapidly as he can. That sounds pretty cool. But let's watch why he fails this one, because this one apparently is clearly a failure.
I'm curious as to how he's going to get rid of this bar.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's
I
going to
wonder
fail,
if he's going
though.
to dump it forward or backwards.
Oh, that was a quarter squat, that one.
Okay.
Okay. He just.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so I mean, take a look at homeboy behind you. He's squatting deep as all hell. So maybe channel some of that. Not in the first video. We're back to that guy. But yeah, so basically what you're doing is you're squatting a little bit too narrow and you're stopping yourself before you actually get to depth. The bar position seems fine. You're trying to lean over plenty. What you need to do is actually let your knees close. So when I'm saying let your knees close, think about trying to get the back of your thigh, your hamstring, to touch your calf, right? So you're just trying to connect those 2 points so they smush together. If you are squatting and it feels like, oh man, I'm stopping for some reason, I don't know why, right? If you are dramatically too wide, or way too narrow. Those are really the only two cases, right? So if you have your squat in somewhat of an approximation of okay or all right, you'll be able to get down sufficiently deep unless you're stopping yourself with your knees. In that case, man, you're just way too narrow, and if you let yourself go down anymore, either your back is going to round pretty significantly, or your heels are going to come off the ground. So those are the two options that you have with that narrow of a stance. So widen your stance up. I would probably say 2 inches on each foot to start, and then just think about letting your knees close, right? So if this is your knee, let it close. Let it close. If you are you're trying to stay tight in the squat and you're trying to keep your quads on or activated, I've run into that a few times. People say, "Oh, I don't want to get too deep. I let my quads relax." Your quads aren't going to relax. Trust me. You're trying your best to stand up under the weight. Anything in the chat, man? I think we have some.
Yeah, no, we've got a couple of things. Jimmy Pack said, "What up, boys?"
Hey, James.
James.
Yeah, James just had some gallstones taken out, some gallbladder stones. Hopefully he's doing okay.
Yeah. Andrew Travis, will the torso angle be a little more vertical when the bar is heavier and the bar makes up more of the CCOM? What is CCOM?
Combined center of mass.
Okay.
Right. What does .com stand for again?
I have no idea.
You should know that, Mick.
Why should I know that?
If we look at the two of us, you should be the one who knows.
Yeah, but who's actually a bigger nerd?
I don't know. Pull that up, Jamie. Pull that up for me. But okay, yeah, Andrew Travis, that's a really good question. So I would recommend going back and reading the Understanding the Master Q article if you have some time with that one. What you'll see, I believe it's in that article, I could be mistaken, but it has some really good illustrations of lifters who are lifting, like, say, 95 pounds, 135 empty bar, and then the bar is forward of the midfoot to get the combined center of mass to approximate over the middle of the foot. What we're looking for when the bar is really heavy, whenever we're saying keep it over midfoot, is that the center of pressure matches along the middle of the foot. How that varies with the torso angle, I don't really think that changes it at all. Once it gets sufficiently heavy, which I would think for most lifters, if they can squat anything worth their salt, it's probably over like 60% of their 1RM. Like if 60% of your 1RM is 45 pounds, maybe, then you will have to have a more horizontal torso angle to allow yourself to get a little bit lower. But basically, once it's past a sufficient threshold where the bar is more or less approximating your body weight, your torso can be pretty vertical, and it will be vertical that basically most of the time, or at least say more vertical than the lighter option, right? So if I have to have like a really inclined torso angle and then reach the bar pretty far out over the middle of my foot, right, to stay balanced with 45 pounds, when it's 405, it can be basically about here, So would I say it gets increasingly more vertical as it gets more heavy? No. The torso angle will be pretty similar once you get rolling on the squat. Once I would say maybe it's about body weight. That was a really interesting question. Good question, Andrew Travis.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Jimmy Pack said he's alive, and he said, "Ha."
That's good, man. That's good.
That's the way to be.
We're trying to let Jimmy lay low and then just not tear anything open this week. That's the
plan. All right, next up, we have Shahan.
That's pretty tight rack position, man.
Yeah. Very good flexibility. Ooh.
Leaning over too much. Not getting... You are, like, at depth with a very stringent, or with a very liberal judge, excuse me. Yeah. Shahan, I would think about trying to keep your chest and shoulders as far away from the ground as you possibly can, right? So when you're lowering yourself, try to lower yourself with your knees. Don't try to lower yourself by letting your chest drift down to the ground. What's happening is because of the way you're built, you're in the long leg gang, you're going to have quite a good bit of travel, and you'll have to have a relatively horizontal torso angle. So I was going to bring that up. That's good that happened. Not to you in that set, but for the sake of the video.
Not good for your back, but I mean...
Yeah, whenever you have such a horizontal torso angle, the low bar position when you're driving your hips up can be really crappy because the bar will try to shoot up on you, right? So if you basically lose your chest in that fight, the bar is going to roll up, and then you're going to have to do that terrible good morning to get out of the bottom. What I would recommend, and you, basically like your first rep was good about it because you just weren't as fatigued, but just try and keep your chest up a little bit more, let your knees close. You may have to adjust the gaze, move it up a little bit, but I would just think about if someone was standing right in front of you, they should be able to see your sternum the entire time, right? If your chest just aims straight down at the floor, not good.
All right. Thanks, Shahan.
Andrew Travis. He said, okay, thanks. That makes sense. I hope it does, Andrew. Yeah. I kind of changed my own mind when I was talking a little bit there in the beginning, but I realized what I was trying to say, and we pulled it through.
We got
But
it.
yes.
Oh, we've got a bench form check. Written.
Written.
Or written.
The boy. This is a high unrack for you, Written.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, we can see that clipping already. Okay. So you're going to want to bench in the squat rack to start, right? So just because of the way that these hooks are designed, like these overly aggressive
Who designed this rack? This is the worst designed rack I've ever seen.
Someone who's never benched in their entire life. But yeah, so Written, you're going to have to move your grip in, okay? The measurement tool that we like to say is about a thumb width out from the knurling, right? So there's an intersection between the bar smooth and where the knurling starts. Put your thumb right on that intersection and measure 1 thumb's width out to take your grip. Your grip is way too wide and you're touching way too low on your chest, right? So you're basically turning into this really heavy shoulder raise, this really heavy front raise by just letting your arm come down. This is not the bench press. This is not the bench press. You want to think about like taking your arm and then letting your hand fall back to your shoulder. So when I'm going down, I'm trying to let this come back with me, and then I can punch off of it. Don't lower your arm by doing this. Okay, it's a very different movement to go from here to here, as opposed to letting your knuckles fall back to your shoulders, and then you're in a pretty good place to press. Yeah, I would honestly just go back to 45 pounds, figure that out, move the touch point up, let your elbows bend, okay, narrow your grip. Well, if you start with those, you'll have to get a pretty good approximation of correct, and then you can rebuild from there.
Yep. And never bench in that rack ever again. That's
yeah.
That thing's the death trap.
Yeah, be annoying. Drag your bench over to the squat rack.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well done, Written. Keep it up, man. Next up, we have River. Old man
Is his name
River.
just River?
Oh, here we go.
Like R-I-V-E-R?
Yeah. Literally a river.
That's pretty sick.
Right.
Bam.
This is going to take a while. Or is it?
This is a calisthenics guy.
Yeah. Is it though? Like,
yes.
I feel like a calisthenics guy should be have a lot more shoulder flexibility than this.
This isn't shoulder flexibility. His spine is just bent. He just doesn't know how to really extend his back. Yeah, I've never carried something on my back before, but I have a lot of muscle mass and I'm
Hang on, do you want to? Let's go for the squat first before we get into the bench.
We'll go squats first, then we'll look at the chesticles after this.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever to people who don't understand, let your knees bend. This is what that looks like, right? So we see how his torso angle really doesn't change very much, but he somehow is magically lowering himself entirely through bending his knees. Okay. Yeah, so just look at how deep that guy's getting. It's deeper than we would like it to be. I would recommend widening up your stance to start, maybe about like 1.5 inches, 2 inches on each side. And then what you're trying to think about, man, is picking your chest up and then pulling it up in front of you, right? So imagine, your back is kind of shaped in this downward slope right now, all right? It's in this convex shape. We want you to squeeze your chest up just like with the deadlift, and so that your back has like an arch to it. Basically, it has like this divot right in the middle, more towards the bottom portion of it. If it feels like you have to crank your arms up to make like a table for the bar to sit on, right, your back is rounded. We don't want to be hunched over at any point in time. What I want you to think about is like taking your nipples, pointing them up at the wall, and then you'll notice like if I'm trying to pull my head back, shove my chest up, my shoulders are going to go from down here hunched over to all the way up and together. That's really the place to start. If you are a calisthenics guy and my suspicions are correct, think about doing an arch body hold, right? And then think about like the lower body extension that you need for the planche positions. And then just try to carry that over to your upper body.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Let's check out his bench.
I suspect the bench is going to be much better.
Grip looks a bit narrow.
Yeah, grip looks a little bit narrow.
Is that bar a bit thicker than regulation?
No, he's just a very tiny person.
Okay.
Those are just tiny hands.
That was my... All right, hang on.
We got everything here.
Yeah,
I love it.
So,
great.
Yep.
Yeah, so one thing, I think that bench is in a slight
incline,
it
is.
Just from the way that bench is devised.
Yep.
See if you can get a cheap flat bench, man. It's going to make your life a lot easier. Go back to if you can try and make that a flat bench, that'll be a lot easier. I would widen your grip up, and then think about making sure the bar gets in good contact with your chest every time. If the bar is floating like a 1/4 inch off your skin, we can't really have a good defined bottom position. You are pausing incidentally whenever you kind of like run out of basically pec or tricep. I'm not entirely sure which one you're trying to stop for, but make sure you're sinking all the way down, letting your hand fall back to your chest, like I was talking about with Ritten's bench. It will ensure good chest contact. You could also be stopping because you're hitting the safeties, in which case move the safeties down one more notch. But yeah, I think these were a totally fine start. Get a flat bench if you can, widen up the grip a little bit, make sure you're touching your chest.
Yep.
I'm very interested to see your athletic history, my man. What's this guy's name again?
It's River, I think. Yeah, River.
River? Yeah.
I'll actually just pull up his email and see if there was any notes in there.
Yeah, I'm very interested to hear your athletic history. You were like relatively lean and you have a good amount of muscle on you, but you seem quite new to lifting. You could be a really good 212 bodybuilder, my man.
He said, I just started my strength training from the beginning. Could you let me know if there is any problem?
Okay. Yep. Yeah, we're doing that pretty accurately, I think.
That's kind of assumed with this service, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Just look at like the separation he's getting in his delts at the top, right? And he's like not taking all this stuff super seriously. Okay. I think these are a pretty good start. I would recommend putting your nose down, aim your nose down at the ground a little bit. You are kind of leading off the ground with your head. You're throwing your head up and back, and you're trying to start the rep like that. I would pull your hips up a little bit, try and really squeeze your chest up in between your arms. Go and watch the Starting Strength How to Deadlift video or the deadlift videos that we have on this channel. And then we talk ad nauseum about what back extension is and how to get it. But basically, rather than having your back be like a downward facing hunch or like a half circle like this, we kind of want it facing like a U, right? So we kind of want to squeeze the chest up, just as I was talking about with a squat, shove your belly down between your thighs. But yeah, it's clipping around his knees right now, but this is only 135. He's very new to this. I think he'll be able to solve those problems pretty independently.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks, River. Keep it up, mate.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, man, if you haven't really touched weights before this and you're just that jacked, consider bodybuilding. All right, what do we got? We got 195 on the bar, something like that.
Yeah, about that.
And quite the setup. These rep racks are like so serious.
Huge. Yeah, that is
these things are pretty bomb.
That is a heavy duty rack. I wonder if it's his own house or that's actually a gym.
Yeah, that's his own house. I would pull your head back over your shoulders a little bit. You're kind of starting each rep by like popping your nose down to the ground. Other than that, these are great, dude. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. See Xavier, that was.
I love seeing those. That's
Yeah.
just a slam dunk, man.
Yep. Easy.
That's when I have like one tiny nitpick on the squat, but otherwise it's totally fine. You're killing it.
Dullen 87.
Now he's in a weightlifting hall. There's some guys snatching in that poster in the back. There's a baby there.
Yep.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, there's no safeties or full racks. It's just the uprights. What's that baby doing?
I don't know. I'm gonna. Oh dear.
He's just gonna get knocked down.
Yeah, he's grabbing the kid, and that's what's happening right now. Just dragging the kid away. I'm gonna guess this is somewhere in the Nordic region.
You think so? I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's giving me those vibes. I think that's just because you've told me that they all live in basements or something.
Yeah, this is definitely a basement gym. Plus, that kid looks like one of the children of the corn, so.
That's very true. He looks exceedingly blonde. Let's play that one back.
I'll say we.
The baby's just screaming. Yeah, he's in a weightlifting gym. That's pretty dope.
Swedish death metal.
Yeah, we know where he's at.
Leon, kom!
Oh, he's training with the whole family. He's got the wife and kids with him.
Ta dem.
I think you're hitting the bottom a little bit fast, man. I would recommend staying tighter and having a little more control with it. When you're at the top and you're having to readjust the bar position, that's generally because it gets a little bit wonky on the way down, right? So I would recommend thinking about staying tighter, slowing the whole process down if you can. Don't rush it. Don't rush it, but I think these are totally fine. Make sure you know how to bail from the low bar position if you do have to. One thing that is implied about weightlifting gyms is that if you bail, you just pop the thing off your shoulders or the front rack. That's totally fine. When you're in the high bar position, it's really easy. You just pop it up a little bit, take your hands off the side, and the bar will basically pop off your back. Front rack's pretty intuitive to bail from. If you have to bail from a low bar, you still have to have the shoulder flexibility basically to like pop your elbows under and then also turn your hands at the same time, squeeze your chest up. Bailing from the low bar position is just difficult, right? So if you are in a weightlifting gym where there are no safeties, set some blocks up or do some practice bails with it. But I think otherwise I would say just slow down, slow and steady, keep on training.
Yep. Alrighty. Mrs. Stixxrud.
The Miss.
That's right. This is Stixxrud's younger sister, apparently. Miss Stixxrud.
I haven't heard from Stixxrud in a while, outside of this video.
True. They all seem to be training somewhere completely different every time.
I know, yeah. I don't think I've ever seen this gym either before. Let's play this guy again. The bar is definitely too low. That's for start. Yeah, bar is for sure too low. On the heels, not letting the knees close. Okay. If I had to triage this, I would say move the bar up so that it's a little more comfortable. Okay, so move the bar up basically about an inch. What you're looking for is if you reach across your back and find your shoulder blade, there will be like a horizontal bony ridge that extends out to the side of your shoulder. If you grab that and kind of pop your finger over and under it, you want the bar to be sitting immediately below it. Okay, so if the bar feels like it's basically in the middle of your shoulder, like down here, it's too low. It's going to end up being about right there. Once you get the bar in the correct position, I think things will be a little bit more comfortable for you. But think back to what we were talking about with River, about how low he can get just by letting his knees bend. That's what you need to do, right? So we know you're leaning over a ton. You need to let your knees close so that you can actually get down to depth, okay? Think about sitting your butt straight down between your heels, getting your hamstring, the back of your leg, to smush into your calf. If you can kind of feel that smush, then you know that's a solid cue for depth. Just practice this on your warm-ups and then try to get it to click during your working sets. But it should be totally fine once you get set up after the bar position change. Is this also Miss Stixxrud, or is this another tall blonde lady?
This is also Miss Stixxrud.
Okay. A lot of pulling through the head in this video today. A lot of people are really cranking the head up.
I love any deadlift video where there's enough weight on the bar to move the camera when it's dropped to the ground.
Yeah. Poorly constructed European floors.
Yes.
The Marshall Plan did not work for any of our.
Here I was thinking Norway was like a wealthy country as well. This looks like she's lifting in 1950s. Like
Where
Russia
are your
or
social
something.
services to help you clean your gym up?
And that's the end of the live stream. Yeah.
That's it. But yeah, so what we're seeing here basically is the bar popping off the shins, right? And then the hips coming up a little bit each time. Just play that over. Yeah. Okay. What I would like you to think about, I'd probably actually widen the stance up here. I think you're a little bit too narrow. I would pull the butt down very slightly and then use that as kind of a counterpoint or a point of leverage for you to squeeze your chest up. Basically what's happening is that you're starting the pull by shooting your hips up to the ceiling, and then it's letting your lower back round. When you get your hips set into that immediate location, what you want to think about is squeezing your chest up while keeping your hips in the same exact position in space, right? So if your hips are starting here, and as I'm squeezing my chest up, I'm doing that around my hips, right? I'm not letting my hips go up as I'm squeezing my chest up. Because in that case, what we're going to see with her, basically, it's like her hips pop up and her lower back rounds. Think about fixing your hips in space and then squeezing your chest up. When starting to be on here, squeeze your chest up around it, get into that point of extension, and then start the lift. Yeah, if it feels like your hips are drifting away from the bar, pull the bar in a little bit more, squeeze the chest up a little bit more.
All right. Thanks, Miss Stixxrud.
Miss Stixxrud.
Miss Stixxrud. We've got another one from Millen Chicks here.
Oh, my man. This is beautiful. There's almost the correct amount of plates on the bar for a deadlift. Yeah, deadlifts start at 405.
Yep.
I love the guy in the back with
yeah,
the
I
belt
know.
on
That's
doing
all I've been watching the whole
single arm
time.
shoulder raises.
Yeah, that's all I've been doing. And there's someone doing like
just getting the delt pump
quarter
going on.
crunches as well. There's a girl doing quarter crunches.
I think back extension's the best we're gonna be able to see with this relative load for you.
What do you think about the toe angle?
I think it's a little bit severe, but it's not really impacting the knee position, so I don't really care. Yeah, I think this was just too heavy for you to continue doing reps for. Your setup on the last rep was a little bit behind midfoot, so it probably felt heavier than it needed to. Yeah. If it feels like your arms are entirely in front of your legs, your hips are a little bit too high, and that could just be, right, or the shoulders are too high in function of the back being really rounded, right? Let the hips come down a little bit more, let the knees drift forward a little bit more, and then use that as that counterpoint to squeeze your chest up. That's only if you're having a very hard time setting your back in a situation like this. And then when you start to pull, the hips will move where they need to be. Just don't make it super dramatic. But yeah, these were just heavy deadlifts, man. I wouldn't nitpick this terribly much because this seems like a limit pull for you no matter what, you know. Yeah, if you're at the point where you're just like doing add 5 each time you deadlift, it may be time to change things up a little bit, especially if this was supposed to be for a set of 5. If this was supposed to be a triple and you just missed the last rep, it's okay.
Is that a yarmulke he's wearing on his head?
I don't know, man. Oh no, that's definitely a yarmulke. Yeah, for sure. How do those things stay on?
You'd use a little bobby pin.
Okay, all right, that makes more sense now. All right.
Yeah. What did you think was like some Jewish voodoo or something?
I didn't know if they had a strap. I didn't know if it was like a helmet strap. Like a little...
A chin strap.
Yeah, like a police officer's helmet chin strap, yeah.
Okay, Millen Chicks. Got 2 free form checks as well, my man.
Hey,
loving
my
life.
man.
Loving that.
Liva
or lever.
Yeah, this guy, he had really good form on all of the other lifts that we saw. This is his press video. This is the last one. We'll have to see. So we'll see how this one goes. Bam. Yeah, one thing we said about his other lifts was that he needs to wear a better poker face. That extends to this lift too. You're going to feel whatever's on your face. So if you're like actively wincing, grinding your teeth together, all that stuff, it's going to make the lift feel a little bit harder than it used to. Think about holding the brace in your chest. Like when you're like holding your air in, when you take that big gulp of air and then clamp down on it, don't try to do that in your face. Try to, relax through it as much as you can.
I just want to say he looks so unhappy finishing this rep.
He does look unhappy. That happens. Yeah. If you do a lot of like shrug work and trap work, it kind of pulls on like some facial muscles or like some I think because facial nerve basically runs down here. And if you get a lot of trap stuff going on, that can happen. You like smile awkwardly. Do one of these guys.
I do exactly this thing. That's just want to say that for the record.
I would move the grip in, Leva, to start. Like if you're trying to take your grip, just put your arm straight out in front of you like a zombie. Okay, you want basically the angle between like your chest and your arm to be 90 degrees. If it feels like your arm's all the way out to the outside, it's a little bit too wide. I'd move the grip in slightly. Start with like 2 fingers widths, and then go from there. You don't want the rebound to be just from your shoulder. Like it's not like a lift where it's entirely outside of the shoulder. You want that rebound to be coming from your arm as well, right? So it's not just like, oh, I'm outside the shoulder and it's going up up. It's not doing this motion. I'm here and I'm getting both my shoulder and my arm at the same time during the bounce. Okay, so move the grip in, get your elbows in front of the bar, and then think about letting that bar drift down to your collarbones. You're charging up with your elbows, and then you push your elbows up to start the rep. Yeah, those were definitely solid. I wouldn't be terribly nitpicky about those if you were just telling me that's how you're doing them. But there's room for improvement.
Yep. Thanks very much. Liva, Nicholas Webb. Webb.
Oh, this is quite the camera angle.
Oh, yeah.
It's my bedtime, Mick.
We did this an hour earlier just for you.
It's 8 o'clock. It's 8:06 p.m. I'm sleepy.
Yeah. What time do you wake up in the morning?
2 a.m. Take a nice cold shower.
Yeah.
I pray.
Do some curls.
Go outside, scream until the sun comes up, run 10 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, similar things. There's a lot of this trend going on today. You're trying to lean over a little bit too much to get to depth, and when you lean over pretty dramatically, it's kind of hard to let your knees close simultaneously. It's like you're almost trying to hold your hips up by leaning over so much. Think about keeping your chest a little bit higher, farther up off the ground, and then letting your knees get out over your toes, and then getting your butt to sit down into your heels. I think the shoes aren't doing you any favors, so if you could get like a little bit like a weightlifting shoe with a little bit more of an aggressive heel, that'd probably help you out a good bit. But let your knees close, man. Sit your butt straight down into your heels. You're doing plenty of leaning over, so we're trying to overcorrect in the other direction for you. And then shooting your hips up on the way up was totally fine. I think the bar was too low as well. I can't really confirm nor deny that in this position, but it looks a little bit too low for me. Whenever we see kind of the bar roll forward and the chest pitch forward that dramatically, like we did on rep 1, that's generally an indicator that the bar position is a little bit wonky. So looking at that, yeah. I don't know how I feel about this rack.
Yeah,
I would maybe do it in the other direction, because it feels like your butt is going to hit something. Yeah, like I think he's been using that little plate on the ground as like tactile feedback for his feet to know like this is exactly where I stand. I don't know, man. Consider playing with that if you can.
Yeah.
But yeah, we need you to get deeper. I would say don't lean over as much. A little bit more back extension if you can. Sit your butt down to your heels. Confirm the bar's position on your back.
Yep. Alrighty, Nicholas Webb, thank you. No stroker. I wonder if it was meant to be no stroker or no stroker.
No stroker, no stroking allowed. What kind of... Oh, those are Converse, sorry. He's got some Chucks on. They're camouflaged to the floor. Oh, mamma mia. Mick, whenever Australian people make fun of Italian people, do they do a fake Italian accent?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
How does that sound when you're also Australian?
Mamma mia! Well, that just sounds like Mario, though.
Like when the Sopranos were on air and then people were doing their Italian accents in Australia.
Oh, I can't do a good Italian accent. But it would sound the same. I'm sure it's the same.
I'll ask my other I feel like there has to be a little bit of an Australian twang to it. I'll ask my other Australian guy. I'll ask. I'll be like, listen, this is very and incredibly serious.
There was a song that was number 1 on the charts here in like 1982. Written by an Australian-Italian immigrant, and the title of the song is "Shut Up Your Face."
Shut up your face.
Shut up your face. Because that's
shut up your face.
Yeah.
And you had just turned 18 in 1982.
That's right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
This is yeah.
You were just
still my favorite song to this day. Yeah.
Shut up your face.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
shut
look
up your
up.
face. Yeah.
All right. I'm just writing this down.
I can find the guy's name. Shut up your face. Song.
Oh, by Joe Dulce?
Yeah.
Oh, my man.
This song was huge in Australia.
Huge. And he's Italian, but also Australian simultaneously.
Well, I
That's
hope he is,
terrible.
because otherwise it's extremely offensive if he's not.
All right, what's this guy's name again?
No stroker. Or stroker.
No stroker. Okay. Yeah. Again, we are nailing this one today. In this case, you're doing a pretty good job of attempting to stay, like, not leaning over a little bit too excessively. I don't want to say staying too vertical because your torso angle is totally fine. You are just not letting your knees bend, man. You're going to have to lean over a little bit more, let the knees close. I think what's stopping you basically is that if you go any deeper, your heels will come up off the ground. That's one of the reasons why we recommend heeled weightlifting shoes, right? So you can get that mobility over like multiple years of stretching out your ankles. It may not be worth the time investment for you, so you can get some good squats going now. Try to find a shoe with a little bit more of an aggressive heel, like a Reebok Legacy would be really good. And then think about getting your knees forward out over your toes, and then sitting your butt down to your heels. Yeah, man, I would go back down. I think this is only 225 because we see two blues here. I would recommend taking some weight off the bar, go down to 135, 185, something like that, and then seeing if you can squat down to depth appropriately. If you've noticed, like if you go back and look at your training logs, and you get to the point where you're like, oh, you know what, I actually haven't been hitting depth on any of my squats ever, then that's a little bit of a problem. You're going to have to build it back up from body weight and then, learn that specific position. If it feels like you had that position before, but you don't now that it's heavier, you're using that heavy weight too early on in your progression, right? So if you could do it at 185, but you can't do it at 225 now, you just rushed it. Right, so you just rushed it without making sure your technique was matching your strength adaptations. We need your knees to close. We need you to get probably like 7 or 8 inches deeper in that video. So start there, man. Start there. Really do some honest self-accounting because there's a few reasons why you couldn't be getting down to depth. Not all of them are technique. Got a question in the chat from Nahom. Nahom E. What is your analysis on deloads as the program states to continually increase the weight as a novice or late novice or intermediate? When or where is encouraged to deload to allow for rest? So deloads or light weeks within the function of intermediate or advanced training are entirely different. Okay. Within novice training, there are a few reasons for it. Generally, those will be unintentional deloads that happen through life. Right? It'll be like, oh, my kids were keeping me up. The kids had the flu for the past 4 days, and I haven't been able to get any sleep because I haven't been taking care of them. And then I didn't want to work out for 4 days after that. And then you kind of have an unintentional deload from there. More often than not, life gets in the way. That's how deloads happen in the novice period before training is a super high priority in people's life. As for an actual reset or deload within the novice progression, I would recommend looking up an article called The Reset, How and Why. I forget who wrote it. It was either Emily Sokolinsky. I could be her, it could be someone else. I'm not entirely sure. Could be Rory Alter. But if you just look up The Reset, How and Why, that goes through why one would reset within the novice progression. But the novice progression basically just says keep adding weight until it stops working, change something when it stops working, and then intermediate programming continues that cycle. When something stops working, you need to change it. If you are noticing that the reason your lifter can't progress is because the fatigue they're carrying is just too high, right? So if they've progressed for like 8 weeks in a row and then they can no longer do really anything effectively, they're likely just carrying a little bit too much fatigue. So if you ask them about it, they'll say they're not really hungry anymore. They could be a little bit cranky. They're not getting good sleep. They kind of feel beat up and achy. Those are kind of good indicators that you've been beating them up a little bit too much. Give them a light week. Take like 40% off the bar. That's totally fine. Keep the sets and reps the same. That's really only whenever you're in the intermediate stage. As a novice, if you feel like you need a deload, you probably just need to move on with your programming, right? As if you've already answered kind of the first 3 questions of like, I'm eating, I'm sleeping, I'm not super stressed. If you're not eating and not sleeping and you're very stressed, it's probably not the program's fault. You want your workouts to meet you where you are for the day, so you can definitely adjust those loads. But don't consider it like, oh, the LP has failed, I need a deload whenever you're getting 2 hours of sleep and eating 1,000 calories.
I think there's that the 3 questions article as well. I think that's also pretty helpful for this one. So
that one covers the questions that I was tidbitting about. So like eating, sleeping, rest periods, recovery, all that jazz. So 3 questions, and then the reset, how and why, and then high amounts of anabolic steroids. Yes,
huge amounts. All right. I think we've got one more. Ah, the steamroller.
Oh, we're doing Steamroller to
The
finish out.
steamroller. Here he's back.
My man.
God, I love this guy. What? He's in front of the rack. It's like a glass case. Is that the kind
If
of
I
thing-
had to bet, that could be like the defibrillator.
in case of emergency?
Like I mean, you have to have one of those in the gym somewhere.
I like the fact they put it right in front of the squat rack, where this is the most likely place it's going to happen.
Hey man, if you're gonna blow your shit out. Yeah, I think it's some sort of emergency gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steamroller, I would like these to be a little bit deeper. Things that could probably help that, turning your toes out a little bit more, and then just being more patient at the bottom. Just sit down slightly more. You don't have to do this on all of your squats if you're in a really comfortable groove right now. So like if you think this is the best it's going to get, and you do this on your workout 1 and 3 for the week, but on that midweek workout when you're taking a pause squat or a light squat, for example, try and get a little bit deeper. See how you like it. Don't try to force any sort of rapid change immediately if you think it's not going to go well, but use your best judgment there. I think you could get deeper, seeing the change from the first few videos that we've seen with you to now. Yeah, but I would recommend just being a little bit more patient at the bottom, letting your butt get a little bit closer to the floor. If you turn your toes out, maybe widen the stance very slightly, it may happen automatically without you thinking about it at all. So that depth could be a very unintentional change just by changing the setup, or it could be something you have to think about a lot. But I would definitely start with playing around with it on your warm-up sets and your lighter work.
Yep. Nicholas Webb, is it okay to rack the bar backwards when finished with the squat? Yeah.
Did we have a video from Nicholas Webb? Why am I thinking of Webb?
We had someone before Webb. It's actually the Nicholas Webb from before.
Pull Nicholas Webb's stuff up again. I gotta remember.
Oh, this guy. Yep. I think that's why I was asking.
Okay,
yeah.
yes, that's probably what I was asking. So generally, it is not preferred. So if you're doing relatively low fatigue work, that's probably okay. It's still not great. I wouldn't recommend it. The reason why is because walking backwards is harder than walking forwards. So like this set was super grindy for you, Nick. If you do this sort of set and then it's like, hey, now do a high coordination task of walking backwards and picking your shoulders up to get the bar and the hooks, that may not go as well as you want it to.
I think he's asking. I think he's asking because he can't put the J hooks on the other side because we said
that's what I think too.
Yeah.
In that case, just deal with it, man. The equipment that you got is what you got. If you can't turn the hooks around, just make sure that like that stuff on the ground isn't interfering with your decision making as to where to put your feet, right? So if you've been taking that narrow of a stance just because you're trying to stand on that little black square, that's probably not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've still got a bit of time. We've gone through all the videos. Do you want to go through a couple more?
Pull something up. What should I ramble about in the meanwhile? Anybody?
Well, I'm not going to... Wait, yeah, righto. Well, we're going to look at...
I love this face. I always love the thinking face that you have.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the video.
Closer to the screen for
I know. I'm just, like, my eyesight is so bad.
I think we may have already seen this one, I think.
This is in the YouTube. This is in the other folder.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we've just seen a few deadlifts from our man.
Do you want to look at another one, or have we seen this one, or?
Let's see how it goes.
I think we know how it's going to go.
No, I've seen this one before. I remember him looking around like that on rep 1. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, he's changed a lot since this. Ritten, our man. Hopefully, like in 6 months, whenever we see this, Ritten's just going to be like 6'3", 250 pounds.
Well, he'll grow 4 inches.
Shit. Yeah. Puberty is not over for that guy yet. Not even a little bit.
This is Liva.
Liva again.
Yeah.
So with your leg drive, I would recommend thinking about going backwards with it and then not up. So like there's a little bit of a disparate rate of how much you're bringing your heels up even. Like your right heel is really popping off the ground. Your left heel really isn't moving terribly much. what you're trying to do with that little bit of chest heave or leg drive is get the bar back over your shoulder, right? Because whenever we touch the bar low on our chest, if we hold it at that same position and just go straight up, it's now below our shoulder. We need to get it back kind of more towards our collarbones almost. So when you're trying to punch the bar off your chest and kick into the ground, try to make that motion go backwards rather than straight up, right? Because the bar path is going to be a little bit janky. It'll basically go up and then you'll have to swing it back at the top, as opposed to making it almost just like a diagonal line between your chest and the finishing point. But yeah, I think that this was honestly just too heavy a weight for you. I would imagine if you took 15 pounds off the bar, that leg drive or that basically hips up motion wouldn't be as dramatic. So it's probably just a programming thing, I would say, for the most part. But what I would recommend, because you were kind of reaching with your toes the entire time, is putting something under your feet, like put some 45s under your feet so you have a little bit more ground there. And then once you have that ground there, you'll probably be able to leg drive a little bit easier. One thing I've noticed is when people are on their toes, they will almost just always shoot the hips up as opposed to pushing back. It takes a lot of skill to push the hips back with just on your toes. But yeah, change the setup if you can, and then try to keep the hips on the bench. Press the thing backwards.
Yep. I think we'll do one more with John.
Uno mas with John Cena. American Barbell. I've never used any of their gear. I have no idea how good it is.
Well, that must be just the best, surely.
I mean, I would assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, hips are definitely too high. So think about trying to get your collarbones right on top of the bar as opposed to picking your hips up as high as you can. So what we're seeing in this position basically, or at least with rep 1, if you can go back to rep 1, Mick. Yeah, and then we'll just see. We're going to see this position where he's trying to follow the set as best he can, but his shoulders are like crazy, way, way far out in front of the bar. And then you have to rock them back to get it off the floor. Try and get them in that position in the first place, So once your hips are set, try and keep your hips in the same position, squeeze your collarbones up and over the bar. And then you'll notice that'll help out with back extension. But the reps going on, it's basically a similar problem. The hips are starting too high, the shoulders are starting too far, so what's happening is that the hips have to come down and you're kicking the barbell forward basically as it's going on.
Alrighty, there you go, John.
Yeah.
Good work, my man. All right, I reckon that's it for today. Alex, where can people find you? Are you still taking clients at the moment?
My wife does not want me to. She says I'm too busy.
Oh.
I don't know how true that is.
Too busy
but
for
I am
what?
pretty busy. Har. But yeah. If you're looking for online coaching, reach out to our boy Chase Lindley, at Chase Lindley on Instagram, his backup account, at Chase_Lindley. He's actually at the coaching development camp for the SS franchise gyms. So that'll be cool. I saw some footage from that on the social medias today. So next week, whenever he's back, we'll ask him a lot of questions about what they're doing, devising new ways to teach the deadlift, maybe. Are they going to do sumo next year? Who knows? Probably. But yeah, so reach out to him there. If you have any crazy questions or want to book a consult or something like that, you can find my website. That's in the description. And if you're trying to get videos on the show, we do still have a good bit in the backlog, but we do need more videos for sure. You can email that to our boy Mick. Where can they do that at?
Support@strength.club or just send it through the Starting Strength app.
The man behind the magic, Mick Solomons.
Yep. Alrighty, well, let's leave it there for today. Thanks a lot, Alex.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mick.
No worries, and thanks for all of our viewers today, all three of you, for tuning in. And
to this surprise Saturday edition?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. See you, Mick.
All right. Bye.